Mongolia is one of the world's most remote and sparse countries, and it's not always an easy task to get around. Today, I'm going to be taking a ride on board the country's old Soviet train for a long 15-hour overnight ride from this restricted border zone all the way up to the capital. I'll show you the carriage's ancient interiors, from luxury private cabins down to overcrowded third class, exploring some of the world's most desolate landscapes and visiting the crazy restaurant car, all while taking on the extreme Trans-Mongolian Railway. Hello and welcome back to another video. Today I'm here in Zamin-Uud in Mongolia, and I've just come across the border from Ulaan in China. I'm going to be travelling with Ulaanbaatar Railways up to the Mongolian capital city, Ulaanbaatar, and for this trip I'm booked into a first-class sleeper room. I'm really looking forward to my first experience on Mongolian Railways. Let's go! Greetings from Zamin-Uud, a restricted town here on the Mongolia-China border. This is the southernmost station on Mongolia's limited railway network. Now, Mongolia is not a country often visited by trip report channels. There are certainly not many interesting flights to film, and clearly no ferries. However, the railway network is actually very interesting, as we'll see tonight. In front of the station is a car park, many of the cars here waiting for passengers to take across the border to Ulaan in China. The car park is surrounded by shops and restaurants, including a few supermarkets and places to buy a local SIM card. There are also numerous banks, useful as Mongolia is predominantly a cash-only country. And here's the BDS store. Not sure what they sell, not sure I want to know either. The station building today doesn't see much use, and while open, seems largely abandoned. There are a few seats, a children's play area, and a ticket office that, rather helpfully, was actually closed around the time the station's only daily train was due to depart. At least the station had some nice art depicting the traditional Mongolian lifestyle, the country being known for nomads. Now let's head over to the platform. There are a lot of people already here, but not much going on. Our train is already waiting for departure, having worked down from the capital the previous night. All trains in Mongolia are operated by Ulaanbaatar Tömör or Ulaanbaatar Railways. The company is a joint venture, with 50% owned by the Mongolian government and 50% by Rossiyske Zhelezhne Dorogi, the Russian railways. Our train consists of old Soviet-style carriages built at the Ammendorf factory in Halle-Saale, what was then East Germany. There's actually a whopping 23 carriages in this formation. It's quite the impressive load. Let me know in the comments if you can think of any other passenger trains in the world that are longer. Up front today is a TE-33AS locomotive, nicknamed the Tezzer. This modern diesel locomotive was built in 2023 in Astana, Kazakhstan, under license from General Electric of the USA. Most of the carriages feature overcrowded third-class dormitories, the cheapest way to travel. I'll show you this brutal carriage later on. I've treated myself to a first-class room, located at the very rear of the train in carriage 33. It's quite a walk to get here. And here we go. It's finally time to board this Soviet carriage for my first ride on Ulaanbaatar Railways. First class, or Spalny Vagon to use its Russian name, consists of 9 compartments, each one featuring 2 beds side by side. And my home for the next 15 hours will be compartment number 6. Today's route sees us heading northwest, along the lower half of the famous Trans-Mongolian Railway, calling at every small settlement in the harsh Gobi Desert as we head to the city. Journey time is scheduled to be 15 hours and 15 minutes, covering 708 kilometres or about 440 miles. We eventually pull out, on time to the minute, at 18:05. Our epic journey along the Trans-Mongolian Railway has finally begun. Zamin-Uud is a major transfer point for international cargo, with goods from China through to Russia passing through the border. The two countries have a different track gauge, requiring cargo to change wagons or the wagons to change wheels. This is a time-consuming process, with large facilities such as this one needed to carry it out. Now we'll take a look around this cozy Soviet-era room pretty soon, but before that, it's time for the complimentary service. First-class passengers get a free bottle of water with their ticket. There's also a welcome drink in the form of tea or coffee. I, of course, went for a cup of tea. Before departure, you're also given a set of bedding, which also includes a towel and disposable slippers. After around 25 minutes, we arrive at our first stop. This is Zamiin-Uud, which, as you may have noticed, has very short platforms, perhaps around 25 meters for our 550-meter long train. There seems to only be 3 proper buildings here, of which one is the station itself. If you know why this station even exists, then please let me know in the comments. Let's take a look around our room. The sliding door can be locked twice, once down here, with this latch for extra security. As I mentioned, the room features 2 beds side by side, situated around a table with a large window. This room's colour scheme is great, if you love the colour grey. The beds, walls and curtains are all the same shade of grey. It's not exactly the most inspiring colour scheme I've ever seen. By daytime, you sit on the beds. It's perfectly comfortable for lounging around, and you can use the pillow to make yourself comfy. These rooms have plenty of space for luggage, accommodating the needs of long-distance travellers, with room above the corridor, as well as secure storage beneath the bunks. Nobody can access that in the night as you sleep on top of it. There are also some coat hooks above the beds. The window has many curtains, with these light white ones being a staple feature of these older Ammendorf carriages. These thicker grey curtains are also present, with a blackout blind available too. These windows open too, allowing for the chance to get unrivaled views over the vast and arid Gobi Desert. The lights can be controlled using these switches, with my favourite being the super cozy dim mode. There are also individual reading lights by each bunk, and more above the room's mirrors. Each room also has a power socket, but this was of the Australia-China 3-pin design, which I couldn't use. Back outside, the entire landscape is blessed by a strong golden glow. This is a lucky moment, with the desert sun showing off one of the most spectacular sunsets I've ever witnessed. And being at the very rear of this mammoth train gives us prime position to watch the carriages snake their way north under the sun. There really was something mesmerizing about this view, and it was just one of the reasons why I won't ever be forgetting this trip. Most of the Trans-Mongolian Railway is single track, meaning much of our time today and tomorrow is spent waiting for oncoming trains. Despite only seeing 1 or 2 passenger trains per day, this railway is a major trade route and sees far more freight trains. This is a 2TE116UM, nicknamed the Boeing, a reference to how it sounds like a jet engine while it moves off. As the daylight gets thinner, I think it's time to have a look around the rest of the train. Each carriage has 2 toilets, one located at each end. These were actually in great condition, which did surprise me. It was pretty much spotless and there was no bad smell. Soap and water were both available, with the tap activated by pushing up on the bottom. Unfortunately, there was no toilet paper, and the toilet flushes directly onto the track. Most of this train is third class, commonly known as Platzkart. It features an open dormitory, with beds pretty much everywhere, for a total of 54. 54 people in this carriage is a cramped fit, believe me. But sometimes they sell 81 tickets per carriage, with passengers forced to sit upright on these benches overnight. This is the old restaurant car, serving up traditional Mongolian cuisine and selling a range of drinks too. Upon entering, I was told off for filming by the waitress and didn't get much footage here, so here's a sneaky photo I took of myself instead. As I'd already eaten before boarding, I just sampled the local beer, a can of Sengur, at a cost of 8,000 Mongolian tugrik. By the way, the restaurant car supposedly offered free Wi-Fi and streaming services, though perhaps unsurprisingly, this wasn't working. Outside, the empty Gobi Desert is now shrouded in darkness, and we make a stop at Doloidin Khundi, another tiny settlement of just 4 proper buildings. As the lampposts fade away behind the train, we once again leave behind any sign of civilization for another stint through nothingness. I've just made up my bed for the night using the provided bedding. Whilst this isn't the most comfortable place I've spent a night, it certainly did the job. The bedding included a thin sheet, perfect for hotter days, as these carriages do not have air conditioning. There's also a thick blanket, which I decided to use as it was already very cold this evening. The pillow wasn't great though, and felt more like a floppy beanbag than something to rest your head on. This is Ürgün, the largest settlement we've stopped at all night, with a still small population of just over 2,000 people. The area's economy is propped up by the nearby fluorite mine, with most people in the vicinity working at the facility. And with that, it's time to sleep, as I turn the lights off at 11 PM. I awake after just under 8 hours sleep at 06:45. I normally sleep pretty well on trains, but I awoke feeling tired this morning for some reason. Despite this, I'm happy to be awake. This morning's sunrise is nearly as incredible as the sunset last night. Time for a cup of tea to help me wake up. Each carriage features a hot water boiler, known as the samovar. This will dispense hot water free of charge, with tea and coffee available to purchase. You also have to buy a cup, if you don't already have one. Tea or coffee and a cup comes to a total of 1,600 Mongolian tugrik, which is pretty cheap to be honest. Now before we get to the incredible scenery this morning, we've got a few more station stops to make. This is Bagakhangai, definitely a station that has seen better days. Despite still being well over 2 hours from the journey's end, this station is technically part of the capital, Ulaanbaatar, with this district being detached from the rest of the city for some reason. This was truly a great view to wake up and enjoy a cup of tea to, with the absolute behemoth of a train, all 23 carriages of it, snaking its way through the hills here in the Tömör province, in the centre of the country. Despite not having any more station calls before the capital, we do make a few additional stops to allow freight trains to pass, such as here in Zamin-Üüd. We also pass many smaller stations such as Hult, the highest point on today's route at 1,708 meters above sea level. One of the saddest sights on the journey today was the ugly polluting industries dotted around this otherwise beautiful landscape. Mongolia has some of the worst air pollution in the world, with the capital itself often scoring in the top 5 for poor air quality, especially during its harsh winters. We're now entering a larger settlement, Khongur, where many of the citizens live in gyers, also known as yurts. These portable round tents are part of traditional Mongolian nomadic culture and can also be seen outside of towns in the desert or steppe. Despite the size of Khongur, our train is not scheduled to stop here and continues towards the capital. Our Tezza locomotive makes short work of this train, easily hauling the 1,150-ton load over the hills. At last, the outer suburbs of Ulaanbaatar finally come into view, signalling that our epic journey will soon come to an end. But before we get there, let's talk about how much this journey cost. One bed in a first-class room costs 147,250 Mongolian tugrik, with 2 tickets being needed to guarantee a private room. I think this is great value for money. This is a long journey, and travelling in such a compartment is a pleasant way to spend it. Of course, travelling in the seated section of third class is much cheaper, with tickets going on sale for just a sixth of the price, at around 26,000 Mongolian tugrik. As we close in on Ulaanbaatar's main station, we begin to run past tower blocks. This city has around 1.7 million residents, making it the largest in the country by a factor of 17. We also pass Dundgol station, originally part of the so-called metro service running east to west across the city, using Russian-built diesel units. This was an attempt to relieve the unbearable traffic in the city, though was ultimately unsuccessful. The train eventually pulls into Ulaanbaatar at 09:24 with a delay of 4 minutes. Overall, this was a great trip on Ulaanbaatar Railways. The train was clean and pleasant, the scenery was amazing, and the staff in my carriage were helpful despite the language barrier. It's not often you hear about journeys on Mongolia's railway network, so it was great to finally give it a try myself. But this isn't the only obscure Soviet railway system that I've experienced, as I took an amazing trip on Uzbekistan's mysterious sleeper train through the top-secret Komchik tunnel, a very unusual experience that you can watch by clicking up here now.